Jackie Jones, yeah.
Jackie Jones here at iWhiteWrestling.com for another edition of the Jackie Jones Show. Let's get right into the news. A Japanese card company bought New Japan Pro Wrestling, and they plan on taking it to the United States and to take on the WWE. Now, I'll have to stay tuned to see how this develops, because, you know, like, as much as I like Dragon Gate USA, it's really not taking on the WWE. But maybe there's some more money behind this. Maybe it's going to take off. Who knows? But it'll be something to look forward to in the future. Skip Sheffield has returned. I'm a big fan of this guy from the Nexus days. I think this guy, if he could stay healthy, he can really take off as a big player. Now, even though I kind of like the inbred, whatever the hell his name was, I think he should stay as really an ass-kicking guy. I know some people on our board over at iWhiteWrestling.com, they're like, you have too many ass-kickers as it is. You have to bring in everyone as a comedy guy. But I disagree. I like the guys big, mean, tough, nasty, and I think this is the guy that can really play that role. So yeah, he beat Alex Riley on a house show, so I'm looking forward to his return on television. The Rock, in an interview, he's asked, what other wrestlers does he think are good actors in film? And he had a long pause, and he replied, the only film I've enjoyed starring a wrestler was Mickey Rourke in The Wrestler. Wow, Rock, that's kind of a big diss on all those guys at WWE's doing the movies. You know, you have to get Cena, you got Kane, you got everybody else. Plus, of course, you got to go back to the classics, like, not Submarine Commando, but go back to classics, Roddy Piper. How can you forget him? How can you forget Andre the Giant? But seriously, Roddy Piper, they live. Come on, Rock, show some respect. The Great Khali is back on TV. I know, it's amazing. Everyone thought this guy was gone. Now, Mark Henry's been really taken off as the big monster heel, but he's out. He's injured, so they ran him off television, and they have him suspended. Let's put Brodus Clay in there. This is your new big guy. Maybe he could be your new heel. No, let's bring back Great Khali. I've been thinking maybe they're bringing in the Great Khali. They don't want this guy to sign with Ring Ka King. I don't know. Ring Ka King's really taken off there in India. Had like 18 million viewers. Sounds like incredible to me. The Drew McIntyre story will eventually find him repackaged as an arrogant playboy. I don't know. Throughout the past, throughout the history, a losing gimmick has never succeeded. I don't think one time in the history of wrestling. Could this be it? I doubt it. Now we're going to have some spoilers here. Spoiler alert, Hall of Fame news. That's right. These are, right now, who they're saying is going to go in the Hall of Fame and who is going to induct them. Stone Cold Steve Austin will be inducting Mike Tyson. The Rock is going to induct Yokozuna. That's pretty sweet. They're always trying to find a way to get The Rock on there. Now, Yokozuna, one of my favorites. One of the best big men of all time. JBL is going to be inducting Rod Simmons. Damn! It's going to be good stuff. Alberto Del Rio will be inducting his uncle, Emil Mascaras. Christian will be inducting Edge. And Triple H and HBK, Shawn Michaels, inducting the Four Horsemen. I saw some people kind of mad about this, that they're going to have the DX inducting the Horsemen. I don't really have a big problem with it. It'd probably be better if they had one of their colleagues inducting them. But I can see the connection. You know, it's like the modern-day group, the group that really started all the factions. Dave Bautista is going to be in the sequel to Pitch Black and the Chronicles of Riddick, the movie called Riddick. I don't know the budget or anything for this movie, but to me that sounds like a pretty big movie for old Dave Bautista, so I wish him well. WWE banned the Divas from their recent tour in Abu Dhabi because of the strict dress code on the women there. I guess they'd have to wear veils, and they'd have to cover every inch of their skin. Makes you wonder why you'd even want to go to a place like this. Hopefully it's for the troop. A current WWE superstar on TV all the time is out there in a pornographic adult film. So all you kids out there, don't be searching for this. But now, who would you like to see? Kelly? Eve Torres? Alicia Fox, maybe? No. That's right, it is Ricardo. And don't worry, no one's hot in his ass, and he's not hot in anybody else's ass. He actually just has a cameo in the film wearing an NWA shirt. I bet if he was wearing a WWE shirt, he'd probably get the boot. But I hope keep him wrong. I like Ricardo. I actually like Ricardo better than Alberto Del Rio. I know a lot of people disagree with me, but I like the dude. WWE's going to have 4 different covers. You can collect all 4 of their new WWE magazine for WrestleMania. Now, it's going to feature The Undertaker, Triple H, John Cena, and The Rock. Now, what's interesting about The Undertaker one, First off, it says, well, the streak survives. So obviously he's going to wrestle, but I don't think that really spoiled anybody's opinion out there, except for maybe Swags, who really thought he wasn't going to wrestle. But what's strange is if you look at this cover, they cover up the man's head. He's got flames coming out of his head. He's like the friggin' Dread Dormammu. And probably no one gets that, but very few comic book geeks out there. But nonetheless, he's got flames coming out of the man's head. Now, will this be his new gimmick? Will he have a flaming head? I doubt it. But they're covering up the fact that the man had his head shaved this summer. Now, is he going to come back on WWE with it when he starts wrestling? Is he going to have a bald head? What is going to happen? I think they should bring back Tatanka. That's right. Tatanka should come back and scalp the Undertaker. Imagine that. That would be good stuff. But seriously, what's going to happen? Is Undertaker going to shave his head? I don't know. But something will happen. Speaking of Undertaker, here his head's removed. But on SmackDown, he's removed from the opening of SmackDown. So I guess this means he's going to be a Raw exclusive wrestler. I don't think, is anyone really exclusive to the brands anymore? What is the point? I really like this over Jim Ross's blog because it's something I really feel passionate about. And I like to call it the just happy to be there mentality. But this is what he posted. He said, this was about wrestlers, the young wrestlers today, and maybe why they're not making it to the heights of like an Austin, a Rock, a Hogan, or even Cena today. They aren't hungry enough or willing to challenge a top star for their top spot on the roster. Too many talents are content to not make waves and to live quietly and somewhat financially comfortable within their comfort zone. I can assure you that the comfort zone complex is the kiss of death in most organizations and businesses and is not exclusive to sports entertainment. I think this is so true, and I can see both sides in a way, but you have to want to be the top guy to be the top guy. Nobody in wrestling ever made it to the top who were just happy to be on the card. It's not going to happen. Now it's a different terrain today. I mean, you can't just speak up and say, hey, I'm getting the hell out of here, like in Austin, like a Mick Foley back in WCW, because there's not another place to go. I mean, can you in WWE say, you know what, screw WWE, I'm not doing this. You're not going to leave WWE and go to Chikara or Ring of Honor. It's nothing against those promotions, but you're just not going to. It's not the same as going from WWE back in the day and showing up on Nitro or vice versa. It's too bad that there's not a lot of places that you can go and still make reasonably the same amount of money. And unless you're like a real top guy, you're not going to do it in TNA either. This weekend was a 9-year passing of Mr. Perfect Curt Hennig. And to me, he was a guy that was really the best of both worlds. He was a guy that was so good in the ring, and he was also a great character. And, that doesn't happen too often. Usually, those guys are great characters, maybe not the best wrestlers, and vice versa. But Curt Hennig, like a Ted DiBiase, best of both worlds. And his son, Michael McGillicuddy, he tweeted February 10th, a day I just can't forget. My dad, my best friend, he passed away 9 years ago. I miss you, Dad. I miss you so much. I love you. And today, I don't give a damn what you call me, Michael McGillicuddy. I am Joe Hennig. And I'm part of the greatest wrestling legacy of all time. I miss you, Dad. And from here on out, I'm taking over. I love you, Daddy. R.I.P. Curt Hennig. Let's get this going. Now, really nice sentiments by Michael McGillicuddy, and I really wish they would just push him as Joe Hennig. Doesn't really make a lot of sense to me on any level, because it's not like they brought him in. We're going to bring him as Michael McGillicuddy. Let this guy get over on his own. We don't want him in the shadow of the great Curt Hennig, because they actually bring up the fact that he is Curt Hennig's son, and he is the grandson of Larry the Axe Hennig. So if you're going to do that anyway, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to not call him, Hennig. So I'd like to see him get another shot. I actually thought he's really good, and I didn't really dig his tag team with Otunga. I thought he fit better with Husky Harris. And I would like to see both those guys come back and get a run for the title. Speaking of legacies in wrestling, the Hart Legacy, the Hart Dynasty. And you got Natalya. And she's farting on TV. It's so sad. And now they actually got Tyson Kidd involved in this. And maybe this will be the Fart Foundation that I joked about last week. In all seriousness, though, folks, this is a terrible gimmick. I really feel bad for her to be out there. You're part of the Hart family. Now, they really take wrestling seriously. Maybe you think maybe too seriously, whatever. But, I mean, there's probably somebody who's like wrestling is their life. They've worked their whole life to get there. Plus, you're a woman. You're someone that's respecting yourself, and you're out there being, the person that farts on television. And not only that, people puke over it. To me, it really just comes off really mean-spirited. Don't dig this gimmick. The FBI, that's right, the full-blooded Italians have been added to Extreme Reunion, joining Sabu, Rhino, Just Incredible, Al Snow, Head, Axel Rotten, in addition to the franchise Shane Douglas, Raven, Jerry Lynn, the original Gangsters, New Jack, and Mustafa. And you can check that out on extremereunion.net. And if you haven't already, which shame on you, but you got to check out our Shane Douglas interview. Excellent stuff. I'm always a big fan of Shane Douglas. I'm sure everyone saw this on Raw. If not, you've heard about it. The Miz, it was kind of a big botch. He missed R-Truth doing the big dive over the ropes on Raw last week. He got a lot of people are yelling at the man because you got to take care of your opponent. And apparently Triple H really chewed him out backstage. There's already a lot of negative stuff on The Miz because they're blaming him for the poor buy rate at Survivor Series, whereas him and R-Truth versus The Rock and John Cena. Now, I don't know if this is true or not. If it is, it's really just silly. Why would he get the blame? And as someone pointed out on the Facebook, I believe Diego Santos, now if this would have been a big success, The Rock would have got all the credit. So why does The Miz get all the blame? I mean, pretty much those guys were afterthoughts in the match. The match was basically Cena and The Rock. Speaking of hatred for The Miz, Del Rio was on an interview, and he said that he hates The Miz. He said that I hate The Miz. This is not part of the show. I really dislike that guy. I've tried to punch him in the face several times. Not in the ring. I mean outside of the ring. He's like a little girl. He was always running away from me. Doesn't like The Miz. He says, there's a big difference between The Miz and I. I'm a real athlete. He's just a loud, stupid little kid. I'm a big fan of The Miz, and I think the thing that they got to focus on, just a natural heel. You don't want to see this guy succeed. You actually want to see him get beat up. And if even other wrestlers don't like the guy, to me that shows how much of a heel he really is. They got to get away from him trying to toughen him up, and it seems like he's always just trying to prove himself that he's a tough guy, that he can beat people up, he's vicious. Get away from that. Not everyone has to be that character. I think he's just a natural heel. You want to see lose. You want to see him get beat up. But he sneaks out the win, and that's what I would stick to. I like The Miz. I think he has it. Keep going with it. Impact has been really good, I think, for the last couple months. I think their pay-per-views have been really bad, but these last 2 weeks over in the UK, in front of the UK crowd, in front of a hot crowd that actually is happy to be there, happy to see the product, it's added so much life to the show, and it adds so much to it. A totally different atmosphere than the Impact Zone, and I was hoping, they'd get something out of it. I'm sure they get some money out of it. But the rating actually this week was the lowest rating all year, and I think that's really too bad because I've really been enjoying Impact. And I thought the last 2 weeks are probably their best Impacts for a long time. So it's too bad. All right, we're going to the for sale segment here on the Jackie Jones Show. Now, if you're out there and if you sell DVDs, you got a book out, any type of product that you have to sell, and you want me to plug on the show, just send me an email, jackiesbagbrother@hotmail.com, or send me a voicemail at 508-644-8503. Over at ringsidecollectibles.com, exclusive Bret Hart pink and black attack action figure. That's pretty sweet. If I was still collecting action figures, I'd definitely pick it up. Lots of new action figures over at WWE.com. They've got, Daniel Bryan and Goldust, Del Rio, Orton, different guys. Pretty cool Kane, old school Kane with the old school mask. There's a Shawn Michaels one, Rey Mysterio. But there's a couple I thought was kind of funny here. They just put out a new John Morrison action figure, and I really dig this one, the Justin Gabriel Core action figure. Wow, I'm sure that'll be flying off the shelves. But this one I really dig, and that is the Papa Shango Elite figure. I might buy that one myself. That is pretty sweet. Tons of new shirts at WWE.com, Triple H, and there's all different people out there. But I really dig this Youth Illustrated shirt. I like the hand-drawn design, and also it's pretty neat that it changes color. It's right outside in the light. You can see the color, and inside in the fake light, it's black and white. There's a new Undertaker shirt. There's John Cena dog tag out there. Daniel Bryan wristbands. Really a new, I don't like this one. Ugly Kofi Kingston shirt. I'm not really digging the Dolph Ziggler. It's not showing off to you. I like Dolph Ziggler. I think he's probably the best, like, in ring of the young guys. But I don't really like the show-off gimmick. It just doesn't do it for me. Over at TNA, we have the new Eric Young t-shirt, which he was posting on his Twitter. And we have the 10 years of TNA tee. Not really a big fan of that one either. Kayfabe commentaries, they got the Wrestling's Most Over Babyface and Heel DVD. Definitely like to check that one out. Over at Ring of Honor, we got a lot of nice stuff out there. We get the Steen Ascension to the top, and it's highlighting his whole career of Kevin Steen. Kevin Steen actually has a new t-shirt out too. That's pretty cool. The Mr. Wrestling Kill Steen Kill shirt. We get the Wrestling's Greatest Tag Team Combo Pack, where you get the Anthology DVD. Pretty cool hat and a cool t-shirt. We got the Chris Hero Ring of Hero Best of DVD, and I forgot to bring this up in the news segment, but Chris Hero has finally signed with the WWE. That's great news. A guy that's really showcased himself for years on the indies. Used to be, to me, never had the greatest look, but he's really worked on that. And just him and Claudio have been some of the highlights for the last couple of years of Ring of Honor. So really happy to see both those guys get a shot. And I hope to see them, soon on television. There's a pay-per-view No Man's Land. That's right. It's going to have a Queen of the Ring all-women's tournament. And that's going to be live from England on pay-per-view February 18th, the day before my birthday. And you can check that over at our friends at divadirt.com. Go divadirt.com/Eve Live, and there's a link right on in your head. I want to bring up Woo Mercy, the Jimmy Valiant Experience DVD. That's right, chronicling the man's career. Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant, the best beard in wrestling. Let's say it, folks. Man, I'm really envious. I wish I could grow that. This covers his career, a lot of interviews with him, at his wrestling school, all kinds of stuff going on, interviews with other people about him. And if you want to get that, you can check it out at elbowproductions.weebly.com. Highly recommend it. Check that out. Also, check out his interview with us not too long ago, a couple months ago, I think, and you can still listen to that on iyhwrestling.com. I also want to bring up, if you don't want the answer, don't ask the question. That's right. Superstar Bill Dundee's biography. You can check that out. Really good stuff. Great read. All kinds of, it's a pretty big book. You can see lots of pictures, a lot of old school pictures. The guy that you can't Google a lot of pictures though, so you check that out. Lots of great stories, very open man. Check out his interview too at iyhwrestling.com, and we'll be having him back on the show very soon to talk about the book. In the meantime, check out BillDundeeBook.com and pick this bad boy up. Do it! Also for sale, it's pretty cool, is over at Amazon.com right now is a pre-sale on the WCW Clash of Champions DVD. Now, this isn't out. It says till May 22nd, and there's no match listings or anything. It's probably in the works right now, but it says it's 540 hours, so it's something to look forward to. Big fan of Clash of Champions. I kind of like if they just put out an anthology of all these shows instead of the best of, but nonetheless, at least we're getting something, and I wish they'd put out some more WCW stuff. Big fan of that. Let's get to the questions from the fans. That's right. Daniel Day Herring, he wants to know, do you think Seth Rollins and Dean Ambrose will be called up this year? For sure, definitely. It's no secret. Huge fan of Dean Ambrose, John Moxley. As soon as I saw this guy live, to me, he has it. He hooked me right away with his promos, with his wrestling in the ring. Just a perfect guy for WWE. He's a guy that knows how to tell a story in the ring. He's got a natural charisma to him. One of the best promo guys. And he's not a guy that's going to rely on a bunch of flashy, high-flying moves to get over. Not that I dislike that, but in WWE, you're most likely not going to push a guy like that. This is a guy who can have great matches with anybody, knows how to tell a story. Awesome guy. Really looking forward to him coming to WWE. And I think if given the opportunity, I think this guy could actually be a top guy in the WWE. I really look forward to it. I actually think he'd be a guy that could possibly wrestle Undertaker at a future WrestleMania. I think he is that good. Seth Rollins, I'm not the biggest fan of, and hopefully he can prove me wrong, because I'd like to see all these guys do well. For me, he's kind of like a CM Punk light. I don't think he's got the charisma or the promo skills. He's kind of a small guy, but like I said, I was not a fan of Daniel Bryan when he came to WWE, and he's really proven me wrong. So I hope this guy does as well. And I think it's good for WWE. I think it's good for the fans. I think it's good for the guys on the indies. It's good for the whole wrestling business that WWE is signing and giving these guys a shot instead of just all the time pushing guys that they think, look the part and want to teach to wrestle. You should reward guys that love wrestling so much that they go out there and they work on the indies for not a lot of money because they love wrestling so much. What is wrong with that? Nothing. That means you love wrestling, and that's the kind of guys that WWE should pick up. Why do you think TNA is hesitant to leave the Impact Zone? That's from the Horror Nerd. I think it's just simply that they get free tapings there. And even when they go out, I think they realize that the show comes off better. But they don't get the big crowds unless they pay for the arenas. I think if they'd go out there and people would come to the show, they'd get out of there in a minute. And probably if they would get out of the Impact Zone and not be there every week, when they are at the Impact Zone, I bet the fans would react better. But they definitely really need to get out of there, especially for the pay-per-views. There's just so much different atmosphere. When they record it, they can pipe in the fake crowd, which you could tell. I mean, it's really fake, but on the live shows, it really hurts them. So I'd like to see them get out of the Impact Zone a lot more often. Brains asks a great question here. It also came up on the message board. Which new young wrestlers do you think, within reason, Shane Douglas should get to supplement the ECW veterans for the promotion he hopes to launch off of the Extreme Reunion show? Now, if you're not familiar with this, he's doing the Extreme Reunion, which I know there's been a lot of ECW reunions, but the reason why they do them is because people really love ECW. And I like the fact that the ECW guys will be putting this on and making the money off of it instead of ECW being put out there by WWE or TNA putting out an ECW reunion when they had no part of it. So that's a plus to me. I love ECW, and I like this idea because if ECW is around today, they would be having new stars. That's what ECW is always about. Is they had their core of guys that were there for a long time, but they would always be creating new guys. It was Rhino, and I think C.W. Anderson would have been one of the top guys. If the promotion went on, RVD was around. He wasn't there at the very beginning, but he came in a little bit later, and that's what they always did. And the idea is to have the ECW original guys, and then bring in a lot of the young indie guys to Shane Douglas or whoever else sees around that need a place to really showcase their talent. And I think this is needed. Because as much as I like Ring of Honor or Dragon Gate USA, most of those promotions are built around high-flying guys doing that style of wrestling. Now, I think if ECW's around today, they would focus a lot on promos and guys that did different types of matches. And I don't mean matches where guys are just smashing each other with weapons and barbed wire and stuff like that. I think, guys that would tell different stories in the ring, not necessarily guys doing a bunch of dives. So with that in mind, here's some of the guys I think could really showcase themselves in an ECW type of promotion that was around today. I think Jimmy Jacobs is a guy that could really take off there. This guy's really great promo guy, really good wrestler. He doesn't really fit in anywhere at the moment. I know he's in Ring of Honor, but he's mostly used as a manager. But I think this guy could really take off in like an ECW type promotion. Definitely Sammy Callahan, who's got a pretty big name for himself right now. A lot of buzz about him all around the indies. But I think he would really benefit in a promotion like this. Kevin Steen, he's another guy. He's got a really good talker. I think he would really do well in a promotion like an ECW style thing. Eddie Kingston the same way. Michael Elgin, who I think is getting a pretty good push in Ring of Honor right now. But he's a guy I really like, really physical style. Brody Lee, I think, would fit in there. He's a really guy I think people are really missing the boat on. He's one of the better big men on the probably the best big man on the indie. And a lot of, like Dragon Gate USA, I'd like to see him there, but they kind of just use him as a regular guy. I think if you really showcased him as a big man, I think you could do a lot with this guy. John Davis is a really underrated guy in my opinion. I think you could do a lot more with him. And I think you could bring in some comic relief guys. And I think a perfect guy would be the Freight Train. Now, if you guys are familiar with this guy from $5 Wrestling, but he's really hilarious. I don't know if he's really like this character or not, but I think you could put him on a promotion like that. That was the thing ECW really used really well, was the that people might overlook when they're talking about ECW. They really had some funny stuff, a lot of good comic relief. Old Blue Eyes, FBI, BWO, good stuff. So bring in Freight Trade, bring in Brutal Bob Evans. I love that guy. Sean Boy UK from the message board over at iWatchWrestling.com wants to know, will Lesnar be back in the WWE by SummerSlam? Do you think he could be used to draw larger numbers to the event? Definitely. Who should he face? That's a good question. The thing about it, if you actually bring him in for SummerSlam as opposed to WrestleMania and you have him fight Undertaker, he could go over Undertaker without ending the streak. So I think that would be a good use of him. I think him and Sheamus could work well together. I think you need someone that's kind of a big, tough guy to work with Lesnar. CM Punk's one of their top guys. I don't know how CM Punk Lesnar feud would play out, but maybe you could do something there. Maybe even Daniel Bryan, not as his current heel character, which I like, but if he was a baby face as like the guy that really out wrestles people, I could see him and Lesnar doing something, or maybe even as the heel character. But I could see them actually doing a really good match together. Lesnar could be throwing them all around, and it could be good stuff. He also wants to know, what do you think about making R-Truth and the Road Dogg a tag team? I don't know if you know this, Sean Boy, but back in the day, they were a tag team. But actually, they could probably be a good tag team today. But I think that would be a good use of the Road Dogg, because the guy is still over today. And if you put him in a tag team, he doesn't have to go out there and take a lot of bumps and do a lot of work, but he could go there and he could do his signature spots, make the fans happy, do the promos. Maybe put him with a different guy that's not the greatest promo guy, and he could help him out. But I'd like to see the Road Dogg back on TV. Also, if you check out his YouTube show, it's a lot of fun. Are You Serious? And the link's up on in your head right now, so check that out. Kind of like a Mystery Science Theater 3000 show, only he's watching old wrestling clips. Good stuff. Old School wants to know, do you think Levesque, Triple H, continues hogging of the limelight is good or bad? Do you think he should be at least working with some good mid-carders to give them the rub instead? I don't know if he really, if he's really taking on the limelight anyway. He's on TV right now, going to build up his match with Undertaker. I don't think it's always great to use, like people think, all the older guys just to continually work with the young guys. I know we saw that with Ric Flair in his last year in WWE, and to me that really sucked. I didn't like that at all. But I do think if you used him in big feuds with not necessarily mid-card guys, but guys that you want to make big top stars who aren't there yet, that's a good idea. Like when they were doing with him and CM Punk, I didn't like the feud. I liked the idea, but Punk should have definitely went over. Having a guy that's not an active wrestler on your roster, beating the guy you want to push as your top guy, terrible idea. Now it's time for everyone's favorite, the Twitter Wars. That's right, Bret the Hitman Hart over on Twitter. He was tweeting about his brother Bruce. Apparently my brother Bruce called someone as me to try to get free tickets and then showed up as himself. Wow, the Hart brothers always still fight. There's not just hate on Twitter, there's also some love. That's right. The Rock, he told Bobby Roode, I dig your work. Keep moving the crowd and kicking that ass. And tell Bubba his calves still aren't as big as mine. So that was really cool. He put over Bobby Roode. Back to Hart family, Smith Hart, he was posting about Natalya. And he said, I'm appalled by this ridiculous flatulence gimmick given to my niece, Natalya. Anyone that knows Natalya knows she is a radiant and incredibly inspirational person that deserves so much more. Very true, Smith. Now, of course, the big Twitter war is John Cena and The Rock. Now, this is the main event at WrestleMania. And what better way in 2012 to build up this epic match than via Twitter? That's right. They could be doing it on Raw. They could be doing it on SmackDown. No, they're doing it via Twitter. Now, The Rock, he has some nasty tweets for John Cena. He's saying, settle down, cowgirl. Your lemon panties are getting bunched up in your lady parts. # hustle, loyalty, Vagisil. He also said, Portland, Oregon, Raw, 227, the night The Rock slaps the feminine napkin out of John Cena. Now, Cena, he replied a bunch of stuff, basically saying, another classy response from my favorite movie star. Just to make sure, I'll pencil you in for Raw. Because a lot of times you say you'll be there, but we all know how that one ends. And please, keep up the mangina talk. I'll flip it into a Tampax deal. Have a nice night, Wayne. Rise above the hate. Now, basically, all his retorts end with rise above the hate. And I know that's a nice sentiment, but it does not make for much entertainment. And he really comes off, I've got to say, Rock is kicking ass in the Twitter war. Speaking of Twitter wars, we got Medusa and Beth Phoenix. Medusa, one of my favorite women wrestlers of all time. If you remember back in the day, she took the WWF Old School Women's title over to Nitro and threw it in the trash right live on the show. Huge moment. She kind of went on not to really do a hell of a lot, but that was a pretty big moment. Now, apparently she still has the title, and she wants to put it up against Beth Phoenix and her Divas title, and they've been having a war of tweets. Medusa told the Glamazon, "You'll be the only one with mud on your face," and everyone laughing. Beth Phoenix replied, "Bring the hate, it fuels me. Hashmark Divas champion forever." Medusa replied, "Bite me, pull my hair, whip me with the strap." Sounds pretty good right now. "But make damn sure, Beth Phoenix, you fight like a champ and not a pussy diva. You tell her, Medusa." Now, The Miz, he didn't just get a tongue lashing backstage by apparently Triple H after he missed R-Truth on the dive and maybe some other people, but he also got some nasty tweets via wrestling personalities. That's right. Shane Helms will be on the show very shortly here at In Your Head. He said, "Wow, Mike The Miz, way to puss out on catching Truth on that dive. Jeez." Lance Storm said, "It was a miscatch. Well, bad does not mean the guy's a dangerous worker, just a shitty catcher." That's right, Miz, you're a shitty catcher. I wonder if Lance Storm is a hell of a catcher, and maybe R-Truth is just a bad pitcher. We got a Twitter war, a Twitter civil war, that's right, between two people in the same company. Now, if you're Hulk Hogan over on Impact, you were saying that Garrett Bischoff, this guy is the future of the industry. He's the future not only of TNA, in the entire industry. This guy is so good. He really put him over. And Mickie James, she tweeted, "Did my ears just deceive me? Or did the immortal Hulk Hogan just call Baby Bischoff the future of this business? WTH, FML." For those kids out there, you know what she's talking about. If not, you can Google it. But it's What the Hell in F My Life. Hey, it's a kid's show. I'm keeping it clean. Another thing I want to say about Hulk Hogan on Impact, he keeps talking about pushing TNA off a cliff. I don't know if this is the greatest metaphor. He's like, TNA is about ready to roll right off this cliff. To me, that would sound like bad news. Like, if you were on top of a mountain, do you really want to fall off the cliff? I don't think so. I could see you want to rise up the mountain. I think if you're a mountain climber, you want to get to the top, but you don't necessarily want to get to the top and just dive off or roll off. To me, that's probably bad news. I'm not a mountain climber, probably never will be, but it doesn't sound like a good time. Want to thank everybody for listening to the show this week. Give it a big thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel. Want to thank the Boxman and Jason Marshall for supplying a lot of the news this week, and of course, a lot of the pictures. Now, if you're out there and you're listening to the show and you've run across a cool news item, run across something cool for sale, or if you yourself are selling something you want to get out there, send me an email at jackisbagbrother@hotmail.com or a voicemail 508-644-8503. Now, if you want to supply a question for future editions of the Jackie Jones Show, you can actually send me a video question via YouTube right here, or you can send me an email, jackisbagbrother@hotmail.com. Go right to the website, iyhwrestling.com, leave one on the message board, via Twitter at iyhwrestling. You go to Facebook, find the Jackie Jones fan page, the Headyverse fan page, or the IYH Wrestling fan page. Leave it there. There's a lot of places you can do it, but do it, and do it now. And of course, listen In Your Head live every Wednesday night, 8:05 p.m. Eastern. That's right. Listen to the show live. Join the chat room. Leave questions in the chat room. Interact with all the fans. It's a lot of fun. Call into the show live. It's a good time. This week, Hurricane Shane Helms will be on the show. Also, Jeff Katz of the Wrestling Retribution Project. That's going to be pretty sweet. Then the week after that, we are going to have Hannibal. That's right. He was the man who put together the documentary Don't Bleed on Me. It all about Abdul the Butcher allegedly giving him hepatitis C by cutting him with the same blade that he cut himself with. It can be very interesting, maybe controversial interview. Definitely check that one out. Then we're going to have Sean Oliver back on the show from Kayfabe Commentaries. And then in March, we're going to have Rick the Model Martel. We're going to have the Duke of Dorchester, Pete Doherty. It's going to be good stuff. Check out iyhwrestling.com, all the free archives. Thank you again for listening. Hope you enjoyed the show. Leave me some comments. And until next week, oh man!
Jones.